Okay, we can start our stream at last. I was originally going to start a little bit after 10 because I got up at like 9 something, but I had some errands to run, which I still may not be entirely done with. Um, so I decided to go do those and get them out of the way, and I can come back and relax a little bit and just talk for a while, and then maybe go back out later on when I want to do something else. It depends on what the circumstances are. But I was just kind of thinking about this job. So there was a job I applied for not last Friday, or yesterday rather, but the Friday from the week before this one. And I mentioned how they had me pay for parking that was like 2 hours, even though I only was there for maybe 10 minutes. Um, they spoke about like being open to helping me with getting the credentials needed to have the position if they chose to hire me. And it was a pretty long drive where it was like 40 minutes to and from. Um, Although I'll say that the drive back was much less stressful because there wasn't as much traffic. Um, and I was just saying that, I was really hoping I got the position because due to their desire to have this in-person interview that was further away from most of the other stuff I've applied to, it was kind of like the most extraneous to get to them, but it was also something I was willing to do because I always pretty much am open to stuff with any position, and also the actual place where they would have me work would be much closer to where I am. So this whole week went by because they said they would give me 3 to 5 business days, to like hear back and then let me know if I was hired. And I hear nothing back from them, and I just start thinking to myself, man, this it's funny how the thing I always hated about these jobs is just the waste of time. Like it almost becomes like a job in and of itself to just keep applying to these places and booking appointments and traveling to where they are and all the rest of this goofy crap. But I said, these are all things I'm willing to do if there's like a payoff, like you actually get hired by the place, then that's something I can look at in retrospect and say, okay, well that was worthy of my time, I guess. But it's just really irritating when you keep applying for stuff and sometimes they have you do even more stuff than just you writing an application. Sometimes they'll interview over phone, but when you have applications that are in person or interviews that are in person, you have to travel some distance and you go through all that effort for nothing pretty much. And yeah, at this point the only position that's like actively seeking me out is the one everybody's telling me not to take, which is the driving one. And I'm like perpetually caught between a rock and a hard place with this stuff. I said, so let's look at the options. You either can go for this week, you either could have worked somewhere that you worked before, but only for 6 days, or you can work a job where they're going to pay for you to go to school, but you're going to be unpaid for like almost a month. Um, then when you get the position, all the people that are saying don't take it, don't get it, you're not ready. So that's why I said no matter what you do, there's always it's like you take one step forward and two back with this stuff. I wish I could laugh, Emmanuel. I'm irritated. To pay for 2 hour parking even though you're only going to be here for 10 minutes. That makes sense. Find something that best describes you. Well, I mean, I feel like at this point I made it pretty clear that it's not about me liking something or what I would like to do. But if these places that I would prefer to work are not hiring, then there's really nothing I can do about it. Mm. I already said before, with me, it's usually first come, first serve. I feel you, man. I've been pretty irritated with people too. I just can't get over the insanity of like paying for parking that's 2 hours in length just so we can talk to you for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, I just don't understand that. And what's interesting is that I was going to speak to the representative from the agency that I got the last position I had with, and they told me that to call them at, like, I think it was 3:30, and I couldn't because that was the exact time that I was supposed to be there for that other interview that from the Friday before this one. So I said to them, "Hey, can I call you after I finish the interview?" And they said, "Sure." So it's like almost 4 o'clock. I was in there for like 10, 15 minutes, and walking down the street, and I call them and they don't answer, and so I give them another like 20 minutes, and they don't answer again. So I just all right, well, I'll try again later. I'm definitely going to be available for you to call me, except not really. But yeah, try calling me. I already said before. I think that person's mad. I don't want to work somewhere for a couple of days and then be booted right after. Akatsuki merchant, thanks for working our position last year for almost 2 months. We're going to bring you back, but only give you 6 days. Doesn't that sound exciting? I don't know why these like temp to hire places are so afraid to just hire someone on permanently. Like if like they'll have someone that they claim they like, that they claim gets the job done, that they claim is always trying to like forward what they want, and they still won't hire the damn person. Because I spoke to my representative, and they were talking about how it was such a bizarre thing to them that they would get a person, and they're referring to myself, who they don't complain about at all. And this is something they do when they don't, because like as they explained to me, when they really don't want someone there, they'll get rid of them instantly. So no complaints at all for almost 2 months of working there. And at no point does it ever occur to them after they get off from their month-long Christmas break to actually permanently hire the person that they claim they like. It's just like I don't understand that. So I said people are weird. Like not even just these crazy ones on computer, but like people in real life do things that just don't make any sense to me. I'm just sitting there scratching my head like why, you know? People just do incredibly stupid things and they expect you to go along with it. I know they might have been surprised when I said, "No, I'm not coming back to work 1 week in 1 day." That's dumb. That might have taken them caught them off guard. Where they're like, "What? We thought you wanted to work." And you know what's crazy? It's like the representative when they're trying to make the pitch to me is like, "Oh well, it's work, and I'm helping you get work." It's like, yeah, but it's not stable. I don't want to work somewhere for a week and get like what, $500, 600, and then be right back to sitting on my couch trying to hop to the next. Like, that's why I said it's stupid. I said this before. Like, what? Why do normal people think it's like it just doesn't make any sense to me how the same representative that said, "I'm not going to tell you about this position that pays 20 an hour because they only want you to work 1 week, or whoever gets the position to work 1 week," is going to then say, "Oh, here's this job you had before that wants you to come back for 6 days. You should take it." They're so lucky that they weren't able to like I was trying to have a call with them and I was going to say this exact thing to them. They are so lucky that they kept finding excuses and ways of like dodging speaking to me voice to voice, because that would have been the first thing I mentioned. They're like, "Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm with my family. Oh, I'm using the bathroom." Just they always find a reason to not speak to somebody voice to voice when they do something goofy. They remind me of those like people where you call somewhere and let's say they get on your nerves and you're like, let me speak to your manager. Like, oh, my manager's out. My manager's on extended vacation. You know what I mean? Like, they always find a way to not get you to what you want, which is to like speak either to the person above them or speak to them in some other format or composition. Oh, it's so sad. But yeah, this is what you get if you're a person that wants a job in this state. Lies, your time wasted, employers that if they hire you, there's like some kind of ridiculous contingency, um, or ones that just waste your time, like that garbage from a Friday ago. It all just seems really lousy, just like you're just perpetually spinning your wheels. Still think it's funny that they'll sit there and they'll be like, "Oh, we need people now hiring," and then because that was how I got tricked by the first by that place from the year before last, the one that I was there for like 9 days and they got rid of me. I was like, they put these now hiring signs making it seem like they need somebody and please work for us, please. And then you work for them and they start showing how ridiculous they are and getting mad at you over not knowing how to do something in one day or a whole bunch of stuff in like a week. It's really crazy. And they always have some kind of like thing they want you to do they didn't tell you about when you were applying. Like I said, if I knew when I was at that retailer that they had a website that customers could go on and specifically give you like a 1 star or whatever, and then these like higher up figures would go on the site and be like, "Oh, this person's got negative reviews, so get rid of them." I would have never even applied if I knew they had that. And that's why I said that, like, at this point, I'm a lot less open to just being treated like garbage by these because at the end of the day that they don't care about you. You know that they don't actually have a desire to see you succeed or, anything like that. It's so for me, I'm totally fine with, oh, you just start working this place and they want you to go and get this or whatever, saying, goodbye, I'm done. Like I said, that initial fear of like, oh man, I might get fired if they'll fire you over anything. Like if they want to, they'll look at you and go, I don't like the way you smile. You're out of here. Like that's we know how ridiculous these places are now. So my tolerance level for a lot of their BS just is not where it used to be. Not even like 2 years ago. Just it's it's really decreased at this point because when you work as hard as you can for places and they treat you like trash, you should be able to retaliate by saying, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not doing this anymore. Goodbye." Like I said, I saw that now hiring sign still on that other place about a month after I left. I was laughing. Um, I saw before that I mentioned before there was like the position before the last one I had was like I only had for a week because the stupid manager of the warehouse like ended my assignments or whatever, and how it in the what 2 months since I left, they still can't find anybody to replace me for that position because they either quit or don't show up at all. Um, it was really cathartic knowing that. I like because what I always try to say is just because someone makes more money or they're the head of this place or they're the manager here, it doesn't mean they're better off because they got rid of you. And it's like I said, a lot of times they either have a ridiculous expectation, for someone to just learn all this stuff really quickly, and then they're like shocked when you can't do all of it as fast as they would like, um, or they mistreat someone for stupid reasons, and get what's coming to them. You know, when you hire somebody and and this person shows up every day and does everything you tell them to do, and then you fire them because they don't have the speed you're looking for, and then all the people you hire after that either don't show up or they show up late, you start to think maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of that person that was always on time and did everything I told them to do. Like I said, people can be managers and um, heads of companies all they want. They're not doing better just because they fire a few people. That's not like something that really guarantees they're going to have this success, you know. But it's like Akatsuki Merchant said, people just do incredibly stupid things and then expect you to go along with it. Just saying, it's really sad that we have so many employers that do this type of stuff where they just like wasting your time. They like having you show up and think you're going to get hired and smiling in your face. Um, it's really sad. And that's why I just got to a point with this stuff where I got cynical. I mean, you know, when you look at the ratio of how many times you'll go in somewhere thinking you're going to get hired and then it's BS. I remember even when I was for that retailer, I told the manager, not the manager, they had me speak to like three different heads from the interview. Like, you know, it's like two or three of them asking questions. I told them, you know, I apply places and they don't say anything back. And then his response was say that was interesting because the I was the first person to show up that day out of all the ones they were supposed to be interviewing. And you know, it's I don't try to hide my cynicism about this stuff because we've seen the same stupid things play out over and over again. People get really mad when you don't do something the way they like. That's why there's a lot of weird gatekeeping in gaming and anime fandoms. Well, really, I didn't want to get like derail us into talking about them because they're a whole other bag of tricks. But all I'm getting at is when you because we were talking about this on the stream, the you treat like it's a job stream, where I was like mocking the fact that someone had said that I treat streaming like it's a job, even though I've never seen a job where you only work 4 hours a week. But one of the things we talked about is how when you put so much power, because remember what the model, right? The customer is always right. When you put so much power in these unaccountable people whose only thing that they contribute is going into a store and maybe buying some, because there are a lot of people across this country and every other one that steal when they go in these stores, and you allow them to go on this website and blame the person who happens to be the cashier for anything that goes wrong while they are there. That's ridiculous. I mean, imagine working at the front of a store and they've never let you just explore and see where things are. And someone gets mad because you don't know where the newspapers are. And you don't know where the newspapers are because nobody reads newspapers anymore. And you know no one does because of all the people that you serviced and helped with getting their items purchased. This is one of only what, one or two people who ask you for a newspaper. By the way, I was laughing at my best friend because he said that um, on YouTube, like your views depend on the topics too, because it didn't mention I do like politics. I was like, do you really believe that no one watches the news? And I started naming all these different news channels that have millions of subscribers. But it's one of those things where if I don't do it, then nobody else does it. So because he doesn't watch the news, he thinks nobody else watches it. Really, and I say this with complete sincerity, there's no topic on this site that's so obscure that if you make a video about it, just like a general video about it, no one will like. Especially what I'm getting at is, it's really funny to have someone who doesn't watch the news try to claim that you're not getting that much attention for your stuff because it's the news when you know that there are multiple news channels that are in the top like 1% of subscribed to channels on the site. I just thought that was funny. Like people really do like take their perspective about things and just pigeonhole everybody else into it when you really think about it. You know what I mean? Like they believe that if they don't do something or they don't watch something, then nobody else watches it. And it's really funny just seeing that kind of mindset, be destroyed by these numbers. As like if I said, man, Akatsuki Merchant does a channel where he talks about video games. And I'll watch that. So I bet that's one of the reasons that he's not getting that many subs. Because I mean, who talks about video games anymore? Like who watches videos about video games? I mean, what are walkthroughs? What are playthroughs? What are speed runs? So that's why I thought that was funny. Like they really wanted us to believe that there's just no one that watches this stuff. By the way, somebody else put up a video, and they're another one of these million sub channels, and they were talking about how they went to they have some like or maybe had it's either past tense or present tense, but they have some kind of position in real life where a person spoke dismissively of them like making their living off YouTube, and they were like rubbed the wrong way by this because the person said you have to get a real job, and I was just thinking to myself, isn't it funny that a person who's making so much off of this stupid site that they can feasibly not have to apply for things, um, not have to, wear some uniform or show up and go to some specific office building or place that some company wants. But isn't it interesting that a person who has all these luxuries by virtue of being among the few people who are on this website who can actually make a living off of it wants us to feel bad because someone said something in real life about them not having a real job. Now, Akatsuki Merchant, I want to ask you, if you had 1 million subscribers on YouTube and every video you did was getting tens of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views, do you really think you would care if someone in real life that you knew was like, "Oh, you don't have a real job"? Do you really think that would bother you when you're sitting here on top of all this green? I want to know. Do you think that like at a time, and again, this hypothetical, where you have a job that is something you enjoy, which is content creating, or otherwise a thing that's tailor made around what you like to create, that you would feel bad because someone who doesn't have that same advantage says you don't have a real job? I'm telling you, it's really hard for me to sympathize with some of the people on this site and the types of things that they, because I guess um there's just certain stuff that if you would think if you get to a level of success, you kind of like let roll off your back, like it doesn't really matter that much anymore. Like there's a lot of people who, for example, whether it's due to how big their channel is, whatever, they don't read comments, so they just let anybody write whatever they want. Um, and as far as I can tell, they're not bothered by not reading that stuff because they've made it. They're successful. They don't have time to like wallow and get caught up with these random people that show up on their stuff. Yeah, a lot of people are arrogant enough to think that their perspective is the ultimate perspective, and anything else is absurd. It's a very comforting way of thinking about the world. I told you, I've seen some people who will attack another person's intelligence simply because they don't like they like a movie that they don't. So if you like a film I don't, you must not be very bright. You must have I don't know, failed, had to repeat first grade twice or something, just like different little nasty stuff, right? And to kind of go back to your thing about like their particular perspectives. There's a person that was on Discord who's I remember mentioned like I've mentioned them before, but I didn't like say their name or anything. But I remember distinctively one of my favorite gags about them was that they used to watch this old cartoon on channel 49. And it was like, so if we didn't watch that cartoon, even though we did see it, like some of us did see it, but just like on the internet or when it came out on DVD, uh, if we didn't see that old cartoon on channel 49, we don't have the true American experience, like like they think if like you people have to have seen it when they saw it and on the same channel and like you never have to think because you have all the answers. You never have to consider other people's perspective because only your perspective is correct, and you never have to change your mind. And you saw a lot of that in play during the new saga with me and these people and these goofy relatives, where and I gave this example before. What happened during that Friday, right? Me choosing to lock a door and not even knowing that this person is going to come in there and clean is enough for this um other relative to go, do you want to have a place to live when you come back, right? Make this threat. And you call this other one who claims they own everything as well, and they're like this, they're supposedly the mediator figure, but all they do is take this person's side and make excuses for them. um, and one of the things that they keep harping on is they would not have said this if you had just opened the door. Now, what they ended up doing about 2 weeks ago was getting into a pretty fiery exchange with me and another relative who was more sympathetic toward me. And one of the things they mentioned, and it's funny because I remember when this happened because I did a stream the same day it happened. It was a Saturday. Is that about 2 or 3 years ago? There was a Saturday where I was like speaking disparagingly to some other relative that was there, and they believe I didn't know they were there, so they came in the room and told me to get the expletive out of the house or something. Now, what they don't mention is that when I was being disrespectful and so evil, this was after that person who cursed at me, right, and is bringing this back up after 2 or 3 years, and this other relative who's not the same as the one that made this threat. Um, had both come into my bedroom and ransacked it. They were like digging for stuff. They were throwing stuff and moving things around. And this really upset me because I think it's crazy that when someone is sleeping or otherwise resting, you just come in there and make a bunch of noise and start digging for God knows what. And you don't expect that person to get upset that you're interrupting their sleep, that you are again ransacking where the room that they're in. I mean, and I even said they would never do this to anyone else. So, um, what I'm getting at here is they cut this part out because they're full of crap. See, when we're talking about the one who made the threat toward me a few weeks ago, what they said is really my fault because if I had just done this one thing, they would not have said this, right? Even though you don't have people get angry all the time and they don't threaten to kick people out of uh, their own home over locking the door. But anyways, so when something with this person happens 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, it's my fault because I didn't do what they told me to do. But when something happened 2 or 3 years ago with this other relative who I was, I started saying rude things to after they did something that upset me, it's not their fault for doing the very specific thing that was upsetting me, that led to me acting in a way I normally do not. So do you see how when it's something that is done toward me, there's like a context and background story that is really important and matters, right? But if it's something that happens to me, are like me reacting to something somebody else is doing, um and my reaction is something he doesn't like, it doesn't matter what the context was. I hope I made that clear, or maybe I'll have to restate it. But what I'm getting at here is that this thing from a few weeks ago, instead of getting upset at the person who says, "Well, do you want to have a place to live when you come back?" over me locking a door, this other relative would instead get mad at me for locking it in the first place and not unlocking it when they told me to, as opposed to being upset over them saying this outlandish thing. Whereas he was very upset by me saying an outlandish thing after someone ransacked my room and completely doesn't care to acknowledge or even bring up what led up to me acting in this way I normally do not. So, um, I hope what I said there wasn't too confusing. I'm just trying to say that in one case he wants context and the context matters and that's why it's your fault. In the other case, he ignores the context purposely to make it my fault because I'm supposed to be accountable for the things I say. Whereas in the case this other person saying something nasty to me, I'm accountable for what they said because if I had just done this thing that they wanted, they wouldn't have said that. Double standards, man. They're a lovely and very persistent fatal flaw of the human race, I tell you. Double standards. By the way, I want to ask, and maybe I don't know if Emmanuel is there. He probably left, but I want to ask both of you because I don't know if Emmanuel's still here, but I'll just phrase this toward Akatsuki Merchant. Um, let's say because the narrative that this relative tried to paint was that um, the person who said this crazy thing didn't mean it, right? They were just upset. Now I want to ask you something, Akatsuki Merchant. I want a complete straight answer, and I'll pause the whole stream just so I can get this response back from you. Let's say that you and I live together for over 10 years. We're not exactly close or anything, but we maybe we butt heads like once a year or something, but we generally speaking, we try to not get in the way of the other. And one day I do something or excuse me, you do something I don't like. Okay, you do something that upsets me, whatever. And I get so angry by this, even though I get angry over things all the time, because I'm role playing as this person that acted crazy toward me. So I get so angry over this that I say, "Would you like a place to live when you come back?" Which is clearly invoking that I'm going to kick you out, even though I actually can't do. I need to evict you, but I'm gonna kick you out because you did something I didn't like, right? So in response to this, you're like, "What in the world?" And you pack your stuff and you don't even you spend no subsequent nights over there. You might visit that place when I'm gone, maybe like 2 times in the preceding month. Now, you would think if I'm someone who truly said something that I didn't mean, and I'm claimed by these other people, and I claim myself to love you, and I truly want you to be there, wouldn't I reach out to you and say something either in reconciliation or in an attempt to like patch things up? Wouldn't I, if I'm someone who loves you and wants you to be there and said something out of anger in the weeks that have passed afterward, where you have barely been back there and have not spent a single night there since and are clearly not interested in living there anymore, wouldn't I attempt to reach out to you and reconcile? Wouldn't that be something I would do if I supposedly said this out of anger and didn't mean it, and all of these other stupid defenses that are made by this other relative that that knows me so well? So I want to ask Akatsuki Merchant. I want to ask Emmanuel that if I truly want you to be where like to live with me and love you and all this other garbage, and weeks have passed since you left, wouldn't I reach out to you and attempt to reconcile or patch things up if I truly did not mean what I said? Come on, you already know that there's something wrong with these bastards. I swear. Like God, I have the worst relatives in human history. And it's been something that has been stated by multiple people that aren't even related to me. Well, yeah, if you actually exactly. And I'm telling you, this happened. When did that happen? That was like what, 3 Fridays ago? At least 3 weeks ago, right? And this person that said this crazy thing to me, I pledge to you with my heart of hearts, has not made a single attempt to contact me. They have not called me. Their number's not blocked, so again, that's no excuse. They have not emailed me. They have not tried to speak to me through other people, right? Nothing. Remember, this is someone who said something that they didn't mean, that supposedly loves me, that supposedly wants me to be there. But then when I'm not there, they say nothing to try to get me back because they're full of crap. Oh, man. The only thing they care about is the trash being taken out every day and um, pretty much just controlling somebody else. That's all they care about. That's why you make an insane threat like, "Do you want to have a place to live when you come back?" to somebody over locking a door that they're going to unlock in like 20 minutes anyway when they get back from their short drive to the to a store. I'm telling you, man, it's really sad that people are the way that they are. And I'm not even talking about like, oh, why don't they like the news as much as me? Why don't they draw like I do? Why don't they make I don't I'm not even talking about that type of stuff, but just like there are so many instances where they'll say something and then you'll watch the types of things that they do. Actions speak louder than words, right? That's something that's often said when you're trying to disprove what a person is claiming by citing what they've actually done as opposed to what's just coming out of their mouth. And what's so disturbing to me is that you have this person who, there's, I think I mentioned there's a recording of this happening, of this incident that happened 3 Fridays ago. And they say to me that I need to communicate or something, right? In the midst of me like leaving and, them getting mad at me over not unlocking the door. But if this is someone who supposedly wants me to come back, they should be able to communicate that fact instead of just sitting there on their, behind and saying nothing and letting this other person speak for them. But again, we talked about how a lot of times they say one thing and do the other. Oh, you can come to me for anything. Oh, you want my help with this? You're entitled. I don't owe you expletive. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up if Hollywood writers got together and scripted it. Like you could take the two of them and have a film called Hypocrisy the Motion Picture, and you would just see them saying one thing, doing the other. I mean, it's nuts. Akatsuki Merchant, if you want me to make a video on any topic of your choice, I'll do it. Then you say, can you make a video about turtles? I don't owe you expletive. I mean, I just don't understand the logic of these people, and they're trying so desperately to get me to believe something that there's no proof of. I love this person because I paid their bills, even though I only started doing that like 3 months ago, and I'm really actually only doing it because I want to just keep the place that they happen to live at. But yeah, I love them. Yeah, yeah. We didn't even get to talk about the rent, but whatever. I was just gonna say that it's really sad that like out of all the jobs I've had, and I've said this with full sincerity, if they gave me 40-hour work weeks, just back to back to back, I could actually live off of that. As far as like being able to just do basic stuff like like basic expenses, right? But what's really sad is that because like there's so the one through line that I've never been able to quite understand why it costs so much is rent, where the average apartment in my state cost 1,800, and it's even worse now because I've seen places where they have like a room for rent, which is just like a one room and they want $1,000 for it every month. I'm like, what is wrong with these people? I've seen apartment buildings that want 4,000 a month. I'm like, who the and I guess what just drives me crazy is that when you really look at how tiny these places are, when you look at how like you could legitimately work every for 40 hours every single month and still like barely be able to pay for this stuff. So yeah, the rent over here is extremely high and I've never been able to understand it. Like I can get the food, no problem. Gas, no problem. Phone bill, no problem. But the only thing that's ever been this big issue that you just can't pay is the rent. It's too damn much. And it's too much sometimes for even the smallest of places. Like I said, one bedroom, they want 1,000 for it. It's always some four-digit number, no matter how small the space is. I had a person who came on my I think it was the 63% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck video, and they wrote some comment like, "How are you in California and making this much a week, but and working a full week, but only making this? That doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, I guess they don't know what taxes are. I guess they don't know what reductions are based off of the the amount that we give to the federal government. But it was just crazy that they came on there and they tried to act like they're this big economic expert. And look, it was probably just another stupid troll, but it's really sad that when we get to a point where we just kind of want to like just talk about stuff that affects us, that has to do with just living standards and hey, can you actually manage to deal with this? We still have these like weird children-esque characters that show up and write bizarre stuff. Like even if you just have a conversation about, something that's affecting you, like, I don't know. I just think it's sad that there's never any leeway given to just like having a discussion about something. So yeah, that's another problem I have with this site and the people on here. I love this person so much. That's why I'm going to threaten them. And then after I say this thing that I supposedly don't mean, I'm not going to make any attempt whatsoever to reconcile with them. Love you so much. It's funny too because I remember back in November I had said during one of our exchanges that like if I lived anywhere else, their relevance to my life would just take a nosedive, and I would never see or hear from them again. And sure enough, that has been the case. I told you, man, people love using that word, but when you actually see the way they act toward those that they claim that they love, you start to notice the the mask like peeling off. Because, like I said, my definition of that word, if we're talking about in like a sense of caring about somebody, it's really not that hard to demonstrate. I mean, you know, ask them how they're doing. Are they all right? Um, but their stuff is extremely superficial and they have all of these like weird justifications for it. I love you because I pay bills, as though that's in any way having to do with actually caring about somebody. I paid my rent this month, so I love this person that happens to live there. Ah, people are so pathetic. Like their argumentation is poor. The way they act toward their fellow human being is poor. Just some sorry bastards, man. Just really. really awful, you know? And I'm not even just talking about them. Like, there's a lot of stuff I can accept, I can put up with, I can tolerate. Um, there are a lot of things that I don't really allow myself to get too upset over because there's just like bigger fish to fry. That's why I've always seen it. But when you just go around and you like, like I walk around, you see people doing whatever they're doing, whatever. But when you go and you really just sit back and think about this stuff, and you're like, why is this person so nasty? Why are they so angry at somebody else for saying this thing or for and it's like just all the hostility, and that's why we had that conversation about the way other families act, and you know what I mean by other families, Akatsuki merchant. We were discussing how like you have some groups where if one of them doesn't have a job, they'll help the other one get a job. You have some groups where there will be like 5 or 6 of them living at a house so that they don't have to pay rent. I mean, it's so sad that you have all of these other groups and families that actually do things that benefit each other, and then you happen to be part of one that just if they care about something, it's stupid stuff, um and if they don't care about something, it's important. So it's just it's just a really lousy situation. What's worse is that people try to hide their hostility behind an unearned sense of righteousness. And that's what I was trying to convey on that stream. I said, I look at these two and there's so much indignation that comes out of them. Like one of these days, I'm gonna do a video and it's gonna be called You're Not Better Than Me. And it's gonna talk about how like we have these online people that think that that when they write stuff, you can almost from the tone of it, from the inflections, it's as if they think they're your superior or that they've like accomplished something and they're now being able to look down on you like this and tell you, boy, you need to do and it's like you look at these people and you're like, are you kidding me? Are you really about to say that you're the one who should step up into this hero-esque role? Like for example, what would I look like if I said, I would like for people to stop having children that they can't afford and that they don't have within marriages. And then you find out I have kids out of wedlock too. Kids that I'm on child support for. Imagine if, like, what would I look like if, as I'm telling you to take care of your kids, people are having to put me in court to even get me to give them a damn dollar? Imagine if I said, I'm so tired of what's another thing that irritates me? Um, No, I'm never gonna bring them up, but just I'm all I'm getting at is I look at these two and it's like there's so much righteousness that they try to expunge and it's BS. Like imagine until you're 30 something, right? Living somewhere where you don't pay rent, you don't pay for your car, you don't pay like you don't pay for anything other than maybe gas, and then after you get your electric car, you're literally not paying for anything. You're having someone make food for you, and this all happens until you're in your 30s, right? But then you want to sit there and stick your finger at someone else and tell them that they need to like pull themselves together and put themselves together and um that they've been babied, and it's like who are you to even be saying that to me at all? That's why I said that they're like all this grandstanding and moral high ground stuff just it needs to go. Like if you're gonna have a cause that you're dedicated to or that you want to like champion and say people should be doing this, at least do it yourself first. We need to stop littering. Then I get my little can and throw it on the floor. Like, what is that? No, they're not righteous at all. Like I said, people have some really bizarre ways about the way they think of things and treat others and the expectations they have of you. You need to do this, even though I haven't done it. I'm tired of the fake stuff. I'm tired of because I've tried to speak to both of them, more one than the other about this, and you can find a million excuses. When I mentioned that this person was upset with me over not taking the trash out every day, even when I was going to work and physically not at my home for most of the day. This other person says, "Hey, just take it out after you get back, and then you don't have to put up with this anymore." They never can see things from my perspective at all. Just completely incapable of that. Um, and even when someone else says to them, like, who has what singular person by themselves has so much damn trash that it needs to be taken out every single day? They don't go, yeah, that's kind of weird. One person by themselves, they go, well, I also have a lot of trash that I take out daily too. And it's even worse when you consider, because we talked about this before. My opposition to that was entirely based around the fact that when I was working, the last job I had, I would be gone for on average 8 hours. Sometimes one time even more, like 10. And this person had a stay-at-home job, which they still have. They just sit in their little room and get to talk on the phone and computer all day. But they had a stay-at-home job where they're at the place all day long. And instead of taking this stuff out that they claim is so important, needs to be gotten rid of, whatever, they would rather sit there again at the house all day long and wait for you to come back to take it out for them. That's ridiculous. But like I said, what my issue with them became is that I was able to take that stuff out daily or often or whatever because I was there. When I'm not there and you still expect me to do the same thing I did when I was not working and not having to leave for most of the day, that just shows your inability to empathize with me, your inability to consider new circumstances that have affected something. Because, like I said, man, you would never catch me whether I had a stay-at-home job or I was like you just wouldn't see me waiting for someone else to take out the trash. Like over here it's even closer, but over there I record myself. It takes 1 minute to pick up a bag and just go to the back part of the house, which is where the can like it's a very short walk. But you what you I'm saying that if I was in that person's position as the supposed provider, you wouldn't even see me getting upset over someone not taking that stuff out because I wouldn't sit there actively trying to avoid doing it myself. Seriously, if I have trash, I get whatever's in there and then throw it out. I don't sit there and go, let me stack this on top of the can for someone else to get. And that's what that person did. So like, they really made taking that like it's funny how they try to say taking the trash out isn't like that big of a task or whatever, but then they're so like against doing it themselves. Like, oh yeah, taking the trash out's no big deal. That's why I can't do it. You know, that's why you have to do it. Only you can do it, but it's no big deal. And see, that's why I didn't feel bad about the thing that happened at the start of this month, like with me locking because I was trying to make this point back then. If you can get so angry to where you're like screaming at somebody or getting mad over them not taking trash out daily, which again is something you can do yourself. then you can get mad over anything. And that was a point I was making, that there's too much hostility associated with dumb stuff. Like there's too much attention that, because like I said, you think if you go to one of these other families or ethnic groups, they're gonna sit around uh trying to like make one person always be the one to take the, no, they're if they have some trash, they take it out. That's it. They're too busy worrying about their job and school and all these other things that actually matter to sit here and get so bogged down on the minutia of which person shall be assigned washing the dishes and which person will be assigned taking the trash out forever and which person. I mean, like, I don't know anyone else that does that. It's just weird to me. Like I said, people who are trying to make some of themselves, they don't sit here and get caught up in this. And that's why I said that I really, and I don't like to do the psychological stuff because I get tired of people doing that. People like, you really do start to think that this person believed that they were just gonna have this trash man that shows up and magically removes their stuff from their house for them. Um, and when that person couldn't do it as much because they were working outside of their home and leaving for most of the day, they get upset with them for not doing it as often as they did before, and like don't are not accommodating of them whatsoever. So it's just so weird to me, because like I said, you live by yourself, you're taking it out, nobody else is here. Like if I have a kid, I'm not going to go, well, I could take this out, it's not heavy and my can is right there, but let me wait for my son or daughter to come back from school, or my cousin or whoever. It's weird. Like I said, people who are actually worth the damn, and look, they're like I said before that, like my grandparents, for example, elderly, where I can understand can't lift some heavy bag with like that's different. But when able-bodied people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and yes, some are in their 60s too, are just like, well, I could take this thing out that's bothering me so much, but I'd rather sit here and wait for someone to come back from their job after 6 or 7 hours and do it instead. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But it does when you consider that these people, they that's why I said they get caught up on things that don't matter. They get caught up on the smallest of minutiae of details, and um, they expect the rest of us to just kind of like go along with their farce. I told you it's so funny that like in a day where I'm not even working, I'll have like some scripts I'm writing, and maybe I'll draw something, and then if there's so much trash that it's like overflowing, I would just take it out. Like I'm not gonna wait for my brother, for example, to come back from school and be like, "Hey, you better take this out. You better get this. Did you forget to take it out this morning?" Because like I said, it's one of those things where it's I don't put such heavy thought into it. I just do it. It's like whatever. That's why I said that person's even weirder to me, because instead of just doing this thing that would alleviate what you're upset over, you would rather use it as ammunition to get mad at the other person that lives there, who's not doing it because they're not there for most of the day, whereas you are. But you would rather sit here and be upset with them for not doing something that you could do yourself because you're there by yourself all damn day. It's weird. Oh, hello, Jim. Oh, Jim. I have a. It's not. I wouldn't call it a. I guess it sort of is like a documentary, but not really. It's like a. Basically, it's like a little piece of a documentary. I don't know if I'm gonna do the whole thing, but it's like a little piece. I'm gonna try to put it out either on Sunday or Tuesday. It'll be maybe like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. But it's about like the Supreme Court, for a little, just to give you a little tease. So you can look forward to that. It's got editing and all the screenshots and trinkets and whatnot. So I hope you like it, and if maybe I might do a full thing. I don't know. Oh, okay, great. Looking forward to it. Well, I look forward to you commenting. If you don't leave a comment, I'll be very disappointed. I might just retire from all of YT. I'll hang up my hat. You probably didn't see that David Pakman like did a video. He's another one of these left wing commentators, and he said that his channel was finished, and I clicked it. It's got like 400,000 views, and he was talking about how like for a couple of hours on one day, he put up a video. He's got over 1 million subscribers. He put up a video, and it only got about 1,800 views, which means that out of all his subscribers, because 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million, like maybe 0.99% watched it. And he was like, the algorithm. So he was telling people to like thumb up his stuff and keep typing his name in and all this other, things. And it was funny because Kyle did Secular Talk. He did a video and he was like, I relate to him because I've been stuck at 9,800 or 700 subs since last year. And I was like, the more I think about it, that's actually true. Because when Kyle upset, Jimmy Dore, for example, right? That was when he lost like 5,000 or 6,000 subs. Like I saw his subscribers keep decreasing, which I'd never seen with his channel before. And he really has been stuck at like 970K or whatever, or 980K, like since last year, like just barely on the precipice of cracking that 1 million mark. And I was like, so basically they're complaining that they're now me. They now have reached their like zenith and they're not going to get any bigger. And like they're upset that they're not rising at the extent or level that they expected. It was just funny. He's like, I've been stuck at 980K since last year. I was like, I really didn't even notice that his channel had just like almost entirely stopped growing. It was like it's like a snail, like maybe it goes up by like one step every 2 months or something. Like you see the 983K turn to 984K, but he really has been stuck at 900 and whatever something thousand for over. Okay, but Jem, listen, this isn't even about like you can have whatever opinion you want of him, but do you understand where, like, for example, I know I will never get 1 million subs. That's something I'm not even gonna try and pretend I'll have. But you understand where if you have a channel where every year you're getting on average maybe like 50K subs, 100K. Because I remember during the 2016 election, he went from like 200,000 to 500,000. So since then, he's been getting at least 50K a year at worst, right? Do you understand where it's crazy that someone who's getting a pretty steady amount of growth would then suddenly be stuck at 980 something? Like you get where that doesn't really make sense, where they would go from just boosting up every year to now just being on like in this caught up in this little, because I'm not a fan of the Young Turks. I think their channel is really is easily the worst out of any of these left wing channels. Like I'm not even joking when I say that, but like at least with them, they seem to still have like a somewhat steady viewership. Pacman, when he did his video, he was talking about how he lost subs, and that was like unheard of, again, for someone with over 1 million subscribers. So this isn't even about me liking them. And I do watch Kyle because I think sometimes his videos can be informative. Really, the thing is, I like Dore more, but Dore doesn't really cover as much like trendy new stuff. I think you might get what I'm saying, that like this isn't really about how much you like them, but it's just kind of acknowledging that it's really disturbing that YouTube can just be like, well, I see your channel is growing. Let's stop promoting you. And that's it. Actually, the most random video people will watch. Like I did a video on Trump saying like the Republicans shouldn't cut Social Security or Medicare, and all of a sudden it got like 800. I was like, where did these people come from? A lot of us used to watch Kyle. I used to watch TYT. He needs better content. Well, I really don't know because like his videos have always been him sitting in front of his camera and maybe he reads like a news article. Um, See, like Jimmy is the funniest one. Like when you listen to his stuff, you'll laugh a few times. He'll say something witty. Um, but even then, it's like I do think there is something to be gained from at least watching a few of these people because they do sometimes have different takes on things. And that little like algorithm thing was really interesting because it's he's too pro Ukraine. I'm just saying that algorithm thing was really interesting because I really I didn't even know that was like a thing that they did where like I just thought once your channel starts growing, that's it. You're off to Mars. And then all of a sudden it just froze and he's been stuck at 979K, 980K for like a whole year. This is the slowest, most glacier pace I've ever seen. Because I'm telling you, with a lot of those bigger channels, I don't even pay attention to their subscriber counts. Like, okay, this person has a million or you know 800,000. Nine, it's I don't know. It feels like every one of these political channels I watch, they just start blending together. Like everyone just has a million subscribers, 900,000. You either are really small like me, or you're really big like them. Like there's no in between. You know what I mean? It was very informative because like to have a channel with a million subs where every video usually gets like 10,000 views, 30,000, 50,000, and then all of a sudden it just stops and goes all the way down like a crashing roller coaster to 1.8k. And this is a video that had engagement. It had like 85 likes on it. I can't remember the last time I did a video got 85 likes on it. So that's crazy to me. And that's really scary because it tells you that no matter how big you go on this site, and that's why I said YouTube is so unstable, they can just knock you off the next day. By the way, it also goes back to what I said about how when those people were like, you need to have status and fame to get a girlfriend. And I was saying that fame is such a subjective thing because there are people on YouTube who literally have 100,000 or a million subscribers that you've never even heard of. And I know so many people that like are into politics and are like, let's say left wing or whatever, and they've never heard of these different hosts. Like they don't even know who they are. I'm saying fame is such a subjective thing. It's not even funny. That would be an interesting topic, like our discussion to have, just like going through what actually makes a person famous. Like not even just like, oh, this person got a million views or they have this many subscribers, but just like what does it mean to have lasting fame, like for people to know? Because I was talking about this with my friend. I said, someone like Jesus, whether you're Catholic or not, or Christian or not, I should say, is going to be remembered forever because people are going to keep talking about the Bible and it's going to keep being translated in all these different languages. But there's a lot of like actors and singers and even like consequential political like historical figures that if you just went down the street and asked people, hey, you know that person, they're like, who? I mean, I met a little boy that didn't even know who Frank Sinatra was, and I was like, that was literally one of the most famous artists ever. Well, you understand what I'm saying, right? That like because people don't do research, like they just don't look things up on their own. Um, it's very probable that there will be a famous person who was important. Like for example, just to give you another example, because I said before, my best friend is like apolitical, and he was asking like who my favorite presidents were, or whatever, and I mentioned like Truman and LBJ and Carter, and he didn't know who any of them were, which I thought was really disturbing because how are you in college and you've never heard of what are in terms of American history relatively recent and modern U.S. presidents? But again, it's just like that's why I said people. A lot of people have these like very superfluous, mundane existences where they just go to school, they go to work, maybe they go and watch some movie with their friend. They don't really care about like actually knowing things, even in fields that they claim that they like. Did you see on Wheel of Fortune he pronounced Achilles incorrectly and lost $1 million? Sleepwalkers. You could call them that, but I just think a lot of people they don't really want to learn or know anything. And that's why I said that like there are certain people that if you just removed one or two monuments, there are like their names would be lost forever. Like I I would bet you every nickel in my pocket that if there wasn't a Martin Luther King Day, there'd be a whole bunch of people who didn't know who that was. And that's really sad. It's really pathetic. And if they got rid of the Lincoln Memorial and took him off the penny and took him off Mount Rushmore, I I bet you there'd be a whole bunch of people who didn't know who he was either. President Wilson. It's funny. Me and the first time I ever like paid attention to Wilson was when I was I think because I think I first like really started getting into politics when I was in like 10th grade. Um, and I looked him up and it was like he had the same birthday as me. Well, Garfield at this point only really gets mentioned for being tragically taken away from us by a crazy person. No, there are a whole bunch of forgotten presidents. I mean, it really starts with Martin Van Buren. Um, and then kind of then you have Harrison who was there for like 1 month and he gets you know passes away from the what was that, asthma, whatever that was. You know what, I don't know if I would count Grant among them because he does get overshadowed by Lincoln, but when you talk about the Civil War, that's where he tends to get invoked the most. I would say Buchanan and Johnson, not LBJ, the Johnson after Lincoln, are way less talked about than Lincoln. Like they both have faded into obscurity for like regular people and infamy for historians, like where nobody defends them, nobody mentions them in any like positive light ever. Yeah, yeah, but like his presidency, I agree, is like not talked, which is really sad because he's like what the first president after Lincoln that actually tried to like do things for civil rights. I tell you, man, people don't care. Like they just all this stuff I know, and I've said this before. I am not a smart person. I never claim to be. I never say that I'm this very intelligent individual who's got this uh, high intellect that people around him don't possess. I just say I'm someone that likes to read, that's curious about stuff. Anything I know about pretty much any topic, you could look up for yourself. I just think it's so sad, man. Like I'm not Superman. I don't have some kind of special power that makes me more curious about this stuff than other people. It's just they don't care. Dude, you are awake. Well, I try to be. Like I said, I just think the only thing I have over others is I'm just curious about stuff. Like I was looking at British prime ministers one day and just kind of like overviews of them. because I'm not really into politics in other countries as much because it's more confusing for me. Uh, but like I said, I'm still open to learning about that stuff. That's why I said I feel like that's the biggest difference between me and others. They don't really care. And I said before that if something doesn't affect them personally, they don't really have a desire to protect it or to remember it or to keep it mentioned and discussed. And it's sad because there are people who have done things that matter. Emperor. I was saying there are people that have done things that matter. There are historical events that everyone should have some basic knowledge of. And it's just sad that you know, people they don't really seem that interested in preserving this stuff. You see, idiots were saying he was British or Indian. Well, there are a lot of people who think that the Democrats were the anti-slavery party, and I mean, it's like you can go on Google and find that out in 10 seconds, and that wasn't true. But they uh they like doing stuff like that. People don't do research, but are so convinced that they have the world figured out. And you don't think it's like sad that you have these people who just their existence is because they've even done like videos where they've showed like college students, right? The ones who are supposed to be like the best and the brightest, supposedly of Americans, don't know basic stuff about history. You don't think it's sad that like we live in a world where you're not really punished and I'm not talking about like actually doing something physical to a person, but like you're kind of like given a pass to just be ignorant of major historical figures or events. Um, like you don't think there's something wrong about the idea that people just exist to go to school or work and make whatever they need to survive until they eventually pass. I don't know. It's just an extremely sad way of just thinking about like their existence on a fundamental level. Like the just no sense of curiosity or desire to learn things or to actually do something that they might not have thought of before. I don't know. It's like I just think the whole thing is sad. But yeah, you're right. They don't do research. I mean, why do you think you look at, for example, the I'm forgetting her name, but there was like I think it was what was it, Griner, where she went to what was it, Russia, and didn't know their laws about substances or whatever and got in prison. Like, if you did some research about the country that you were planning on visiting and didn't bring this thing, then you would have had, that visit would have gone off without a hitch. No research, just mundane existences. So like, people really just lack intellectual curiosity. And that's why I was saying that, I understand where if there's like some book, because I mentioned before that a lot of times I'll get a book and I just won't finish it. I'll probably get a third of the way through, halfway through, but it's like really hard to just will myself to just sit down and read something from start to finish. Um, but even then, it's like there's no excuse when you then take the contents of the book and make it either an audiobook or you take the stuff that was written there and you read it out and stick it in the video, and people still don't watch. They still don't care. They still are like, whatever, who cares? Oh well, tough crap. Doesn't affect me. Why should I care? So it's just it's sad. Jim said sleepwalkers. That I mean, I don't know what else you want to call him. No, I don't. I don't think we'll be hearing too much more from Akatsuki Merchant. He's over there getting his What was that movie he was writing again? That spinoff for that one character that everybody said was one of the greatest movie villains of all time. So we probably won't be hearing from him too much for the rest of the stream, unfortunately, because I do like hearing from him, but he's busy. He's an auteur at work, so we're not going to mess with him. We're gonna just let him do his thing. And people who don't do research but are convinced they know everything do know everything. You don't need to research to know everything. You just will it into your head, and then it's true. I'm playing. I thought you said you didn't like that game. I'm surprised you would play it in that regard. I'm really surprised. You know, I think I remember saying that I had like ambitions to like a whole bunch of documentaries, but what really was just bugging me is that you sit here and you write this video and you got a whole script, and sometimes the script could be several pages long, and you're writing it, you're looking for information, you're doing your research, whatever, and then you stick up this 20, 30, 40, 50 minute video, and you've got like what, a thousand, maybe I'm not even gonna say 1,000, 300 views, 200 views. I mean, it just gets irritating. So that was the biggest thing that made me like not want to make any more of those. But I still kind of want to do it. That's why I said I want to do the Supreme Court one and see if I like it. Because I told you before, there's a whole bunch of Google Docs that I have, and I just never even finished them. I would just write stuff and type it out and have some of this here and some of that there. I'm just trying to get an achievement. Zombies. Hey, we're living in the era of the like Walking Dead being like made into live action, or being made into like it's like crossing over into real life. It's life imitating art. But it's really scary how little people care about preserving things. Like, just they have no desire. I mean, I was telling you about how my friend was saying that he doesn't rewatch things that he says he likes because if it's good, you just remember it. And it was such a bizarre take to have, because there are plenty of people who like movies and shows that came out 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they still rewatch it and keep it alive through that, and like talking about it, and you know I'm talking about like communities that like keep the works that they care about alive. And I said it's really sad that you would dislike something, which is why you don't watch it again, but if you like something you still watch it again. So either way, whether you like or dislike something, you're not going to see it more than once. And I've never been that way. I've had documentaries that I've watched 5 or 6 times. I've had videos on YouTube that I've watched multiple times too. I had one guy's video. I thought it was so good. I shared it with like 5 different relatives and watched it 2 or 3 more times on my own. If you make something I think is of quality and I think is interesting or entertaining, or there's like there's some kind of thing of value with it, I'll go and watch it. Hey, try to compile some of the work you did. I'm interested. No, I'm just saying that there's plenty of things that people have made on this site that I either find entertaining or informative. There's again some kind of like value that I go back to and watch repeatedly because of that. They said something funny. They expressed something in some way I'd never heard before. What you have to watch, the things you like, you always catch something new. Well, there's plenty of stuff that rewards you for watching it, again. I mean, there are some shows that foreshadow things, for example, seasons before they happen, episodes before they happen, you know, certain plot points that develop that you when it was airing, you didn't know what was going to happen. Now you do, and it feels more cathartic to just see it unfold. Jim, this documentary you did was so great. That's why I'm only going to watch it one time in my entire life. It was so great. That's why I only watched it once. It was terrific. My God, man, I don't know what the logic of these people is. I really don't. And then he was trying to say it was stupid that people go and watch a movie in theaters multiple times because they're paying over. And I'm like, dude, if it doesn't affect you, why do you care? I said before, people have all kind of reasons to go and watch a movie in theaters more than once. I even gave this example. I said sometimes I'll have a person I want to see a movie with, and they're unavailable, and I'll go and see the movie on release day because I want to like see it and whether I like it. And then I'll go and see it with somebody else so I can like see their reaction and the types of things they might say while it's happening or occurring. I'm just saying, man, like it's interesting how restrictive people are and judgmental they are of like like habits of others. Like we live in this era where everyone kind of wants to tell you that you should not be judgmental. Like for example, we were talking about how you know there's this thing called slut shaming, which is where you're not supposed to like talk about what a woman wears, whatever. But then if you go on here, you have a whole bunch of guys writing weird stuff about the way you look and all this stuff. Like you just there's too many contradictions. People want to be what they want to be, but then they also want you to be something that they prefer you to be. So it's like they want to have free reign to just being what they are, but they don't want you to have the same courtesy, which I don't think is fair. But we all know life isn't fair, so that makes a lot of sense. I always have to remind myself of that. See what this is. Ugh. They want to be unique individuals, but want to dictate to you who you should be. Yeah, they don't want you to have the same courtesy that they have. It's not fair. I agree, it isn't fair. So it's weird tactic people use when they know they're in the wrong. I told you, man, there's so much stuff people do that I don't understand or agree with, and I just don't say anything. Like I see people smoking, I don't bother them. I don't say they shouldn't do it. I see people with tattoos. I say, hey, let them keep their ink. I see people with who drink. I said, hey, let them keep their beer. I see people who, I mean, like, if it's non-criminal, I really don't care. Like I told you, I'm seeing more and more women with nose rings, which I don't really. I mean, I'll never get the image out of my head of cows because that's the first thing I think when I think of nose rings. But if they want that, whatever. I'm just saying, man, like I don't understand how I can sit here and be told and even like in practice be like very accepting of things that people do that I don't. And then at the same time have people trying to tell me like you shouldn't do this, you can't do this. It's weird. I see people with multiple hair color, but yeah, let them do it. and be bald before 40. That's another thing. I don't do the hair dyeing, but if somebody else wants to do that and switch it up every day. I have conversations at my gym. This one chick said I was corny until she noticed that I drive an Audi. And she been trying to get my attention. And you don't think that's sad that like the thing that you knew attracted her to you wasn't your personality or anything about you as an individual. It was just something as superficial as the car that you stick your foot on the gas pedal of as you drive away from the only place where you meet her at. You don't think that's like just when you think about it, that's really sad that's what attracted her to you. Because remember, that doesn't say anything bad about you. That's saying something bad about the fact that like these superficial things mean so much to these people that they'll completely do a 180 or 360 if they know you have it and they don't. Yeah, if you can hear that conversation out there, I apologize. Hey, some things never change, huh? No matter where my situation is. We'll probably. I can. I don't think it'll be noisy on Monday though. That's sad. Most women love what you have and what you can offer, not you per se. Well, see, that was one of the problems I had with talking with them. It's like you're gonna sit here and speak to somebody for weeks and months, and then if you don't own this thing that they want or look this certain way that they like, oh well, kick rocks. Like, so I'm supposed to sit here and talk to you and make you laugh and supposedly enjoy my company or presence, but then if I don't entirely align with whatever your idealized fantasy of a man is, you lash out and throw and cast me aside. And I don't like that. Told you about that one broad. I spoke to her on Discord for like what was that, 4 hours, 3 hours? And she talked all that nasty stuff to me. And then after she sees a picture of what I look like, she's like, I don't you're not my type. Like, but then what was the point of the last several hours? So I said, man, check get it like talking to them and getting caught up with them. I'd rather drink bleach at this point. I'm not joking. They're a very awful group to even in any romantic sense, even remotely attempt to associate with. Again, I'll work with some of them on projects and like other type of like specific goal oriented career stuff. But as far as like trying to be friends and also, I avoid that like the plague because there's just been too many lies and too much red herring and too much time wasting, and I'm not a fan of it. To me, she's like the Black Death. I mean, hey, she might cause some if you get too close to her. I told you, man, it's really sad that you'll have some guy who just wanted to go on a date, you know, and eventually like get married and like instead of just being able to achieve this very simple goal that past generations never had a problem getting, you have to deal with signing up to a whole bunch of stupid dating websites and talking to some woman who's talking to like 20 or 30 other guys. And even if you speak to one of them for months on end, that one still can just say, no, I'm not interested, but hey, thanks for playing. Like the whole thing just is so, it's just awful, man. It's really bad. That's why I said I don't want anything else to do with them after the last several years. I'm good. They act like you're crazy because you don't like having your time wasted. You think just because you spoke to some woman for 12 months and she said that she was trying to like you romantically, that she was interested in you, you're entitled. I'm speaking to some women that are older than me, and it's oh yeah, they don't change. People are so shallow, man. Red herring, red flag. It is red herring. Like, what would I look like if I had some woman on the phone, right? I'm like, I would like to show you all types of interesting things I could do to you, and I would like to place my arms around your legs and caress you and and as I'm saying all this imaginative, romantic, clearly explicit stuff to her, I get her picture and then after I go, "Oh, sorry, you're not my type." It's like, what is that? What is that? So yeah, it's red herring, and it's a waste of everybody's time. Like I said, I'm tired of them. Also, Jem, when the Supreme Court video doesn't come out on what day is that? When it doesn't come out on Monday or whatever day this week I said it would, or was it like tomorrow or Monday? If it doesn't come out either of those days, and you try to ask me where's the video that I said would come out on one of those 2 days, I'm gonna go, I don't owe you. Now I told you I'd make this video, and then after I don't do it, and you say, hey, you told me you would do this, and you're not doing it, I don't owe you. On the real, if you don't make enough money, just wait a bit. Man, I'm not falling for that trick anymore. The magic romance here. No, I'm not falling for it. Never, never. I'm not falling for it. You know that trick isn't working this time. I said this before. You get me. I'd have a higher chance believing in Santa than these chicks. Sorry, it's just there's too much ridiculousness. So you know if you believe that, that's fine. You can do what you want, but I don't. I told you I've had plenty of instances where I thought it was over, and then it's red herring. Because I said this on another stream. I was like, we always have this idea in our head of like that guy that asks out some woman and she says she's not interested, and then he has to like go and ask somebody else out, and he gets like mildly irritated. But what you see here is that they can't just say no. They have to like spend weeks talking to you or months talking to you, and they say these things about how they feel a connection with you, or I'm trying to like you, or if we have a possible friendship or relationship. They say things that are clearly meant to indicate the possibility that they will be romantically attracted to you, and then they don't do it, and then you're expected to not get pissed. So yeah, the stereotype I would much prefer, which is you ask them out, they say no, everybody moves on, whatever. But instead, you get these long, dragged out processes, and I just don't have time for it anymore, man. Like, who wants to talk to some woman for 6 months just for her to be like, I have no expectation of where our communication is going? It's like, then why are we talking? God, I just think it's crazy. So I really hope that you guys don't have to hear that thing outside. I really hope. But I'll probably get demonetized again because that's how YouTube does me. I tell you, the worst thing about this site was like all the times I've wanted to say something and I like purposely censor myself, and they still are like, "Nah, we're taking your coins." Like, damn, I'm in the ATL. You know how many women say they're single and they're really not? It's crazy. Well, dude, it's really hard to even find like because I tried to explain this before. When you have chicks that talk to guys that they're never going to meet because they live in these foreign countries, live in other states, and they'll talk to them just as much or even more. They don't talk to guys that are around them in their immediate vicinity. That just further escalates the problem. And all these guys are doing the same thing. You look so pretty. You're so beautiful. You're so hot. Oh, I want you inside. Oh, you're so good. And then the woman, her ego, right, just skyrockets. So if you try to say something to her, you're not saying anything she's never heard before, and she knows if you don't follow along with her desires like a good little slave, she can just move on to the next guy. Like I said, I'm tired of it. It's like all this romance stuff is just crap. Like that's why I said relationships in the modern era aren't even about actually liking someone and wanting to spend time with them. They're all this strategic simulation of people that are going around telling you to do these 900 things. And most of the guys think to do that stuff haven't even done it themselves. Um, which that's another elephant in the room. All the fabrications people online try to get you to believe to subscribe to this crap. But I just said I'm tired of it. Women are not worth doing all of this for. In general, they are not. They will do nothing to appeal to you, and you will be blamed for your failure or inability to get with them. So pretty much their whole existence is to waste your time and to be used as ammo for people to attack you with. So I don't I really just I'm sick of that whole thing. Dude, it's so sad that like we're in an era where you talk to some woman and the first thing that like ran through my mind is like, so is she talking or speaking to another 5 guys, 10 guys, 20 guys, 30 guys, 40? How many men is she interested in? How many guys dream of getting between her thighs? How many boys does she taunt? How many men's wasted time does she haunt? Dude, I love how none of those romance people ever talk about that. Like, they really want you to believe when you speak to a woman, there's maybe like one other guy. Like, no, it's like 10, 20, 30. I'm telling you, that was something I never really noticed until probably like um maybe 11th grade, 12th grade, because that was when I was speaking to that one woman on Instagram that said that she had 10 guys like ask her for a date after they saw her picture or something. And I just felt really awful because I was like, man, if I knew that many had shown interest in her, I would have never even tried. That's why I said that, like, you can't even count on them to give you that type of transparency. So I would rather just not even bother, with it. Every time bring up the question about past most frees. I guess they didn't expect you to care like that. Well, that's the thing. I didn't even bring up how many like it that was just a thing that she mentioned publicly on her account. It was like 10 guys asked you on a date from just seeing a picture. So that's why I told you don't try to tell me anything about um oh your personality matters and you lack personality doesn't matter at all. If you have some woman who thinks you're physically attractive and really thinks you are, she'll put up with a lot of stuff. It is a joke. But I'd also would be a joke if I still believed in all of the the myths like, oh, during this magic year, you will now meet a woman who likes you. It's like, yeah, they said that in 2018, they said that in 2019, they said that in 2020, they said that in 2021, they said that last year. I mean, I don't know who's like, you really expect me to fall for this? People have been promising chicks since I was like 13 or 14 or 15, like for literally for like the last 10 years. People have been swearing up and down, Magic Woman is on the horizon. There is no such thing, man. Dude, I told you I'd sooner believe Elvis is coming back than these, than these chicks being different from each other. They're not. They're the only thing that's different from a couple years ago is now you can argue they're even worse. Because like I said, now we're meeting ones that they won't even have a phone call with you. They don't even let you hear their voice. You're so beneath them, you can't even listen to their stupid high pitched crap on the other end of a phone. Oh man, that woman's stuff is just it's so sad. That's why I call it the magic romance here, where all these chicks, dude. You know what like kills me? They don't even say something like, "Hey, you know what? If you go to this location, I think you'll meet at least one of them that likes you." If you listen to some of them, they tell you stuff that sounds like it's out of a fairy tale. Like there was this poor man that kept asking women out, and they turned him down over and over. And if you went on dating websites, they turned him down. If he asked them out in real life, they turned him down. But then one day, after 7, 10, 11, 12, 13 years of waiting, a magic woman who he thought was so attractive, in turn, was mesmerized by him, and they collided like a hurricane and lived happily ever after as the sun faded. I mean, who believes this? Like, I'm not joking. The stuff they write is so goofy and it's so absurd. Like I said, man, I don't know. I feel bad for anyone who actually believes that stuff because they're being set up to fail. And I've talked about that before, like how with romance, men are set up to fail, where all these chicks will accuse you of being interested in them, even if you don't ask them out. And like you can literally just talk to a woman, and she'll think you're trying to be her boyfriend. That's how paranoid they are and how ridiculous they are. Like I told you about the one at that last job I had, where I asked her for her email because we had some like decent conversations, and I asked her like what are her hobbies, just like stuff she likes to do outside of working. And instead of answering that, she tells about she and her boyfriend are going to be traveling the world and on this grand stage tour. And I'm just like, you must think I didn't because I didn't speak. I didn't say anything back. I was like, she must think I'm really stupid if I'm trying to supposedly get with her to send her a message that is romantic through an email that is work related that she can screenshot and be like, "Hey, look, he tried to get with me." They think like a lot of these chicks really do think all the guys around them are just dumb. Like we're all just a bunch of idiots that will do anything and everything to appeal to the magic broad. Even though, like I said, attractive women are a dime a dozen. I saw a woman at the market. What was it last week? A couple, not even I think it was like a couple days ago. That works there. She looks nice, slender build. That hair where it's like the top part is brown, the bottom part is blonde. Again, if this had been me 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe I'd say something, but I don't care anymore. We already know our fate. We already know that that we're gonna get blamed no matter what happens because we are, after all, the most blamed man of all time. Yeah, some women think talking over the phone is bad. Like, wow, some of them hide. I told y'all all the guys I've ever known. I've never seen, and I try to not invoke men because I don't talk to as many men usually. Um, but even then, it's like I know guys on Discord. They'll sit in group calls all day long, just talking to each other, shooting the breeze. Yeah, a lot of these women have an unearned sense of superiority, and it's just hilarious. And it's like, what have they ever done? Like, congratulations, you had 10 or 30 or 50 guys ask you out. Woo! As if we haven't seen that from a million other chicks. Like, it's weird. I'm sorry. People overvalue women. They do. They overvalue women and undervalue men. There shouldn't be 50 guys asking out some non-famous woman. I'm sorry. That's why I said I'm not involved in seeking out any of them. I'm tired of this. Yeah, when people say, "Look what you made me do," they avoid all responsibilities. I have to talk to all of these guys messaging me on these different websites that I'm claiming are harassing me. It's not like I can block them or simply get off the site. Dude, that was always my favorite part where they try to be get us to feel sympathetic toward them because they're being asked out by men. And I'm like, what a joke. Like of all the offended, that's what I told you, man. A lot of these women have like the most like the biggest streak of victimhood. Like some of the stuff they'll claim makes them marginalized is so goofy. Oh, this man at the market asked me for my number. And what did he do after you said no? Oh, he let me keep walking. Like, so what's the problem here? I told you, I don't know what the deal with this woman stuff is. Like, they want you to ask them out, but then they also, if they don't think you're attractive, don't want you to. And none of. I mean, like I said, they all think they're tens out of tens. So I just said that the whole thing is just stupid to me. It's you going out and doing what as a man you're expected to do according to society, which is go out and ask women out. And then when it goes away, that is antithetical to what you want, you get blamed for it, no matter what the circumstances were. Yeah, it's real sad. But I'm gonna make sure that Akatsuki Merchant is able to finish his movie draft because I know I'm distracting him with this stream, and I don't want to be a hindrance to his vision. So I want to make sure that we get this done. Okay. Um, what else is here? Oh God. God. I can't believe that they act like this is a thing that's being talked about now. Jeez. So you guys have anything else you want to say? Because now I'm being expedited out of my own thing. Let me see. They like to keep their opinions open. So who likes to keep their opinions? Their options. Well, I just don't. I'm not like this. I don't. I've never really spoke to someone that I was attracted to and been like, well, I could go on a date with them, but I also have these other two, three, four, five, six chicks that I like as well. I don't. I don't do that. I mean, I've spoken to more than one at a time, but I don't really see anything wrong with that. You're not. I'm not anyone's. I'm not with them. So what's the deal? Dude, that was one of my favorite parts about what's her name, where like I'd mentioned, she was like, "So you were talking to this one while talking to that?" Well, she acted like me speaking to two women who neither of whom I'm with, and thus owe no sense of commitment to, um, is the same as basically she acted like that was this bad thing. But then like look at all it was such a joke. Like look at all the men that a woman will talk to at once. It's so goofy. That's why I said it's just an enormous gag. It's like, I can't believe you did this thing that I do, except nowhere near as much as me because I speak to like 10 or 15 men at once. But yeah, what a sick thing. I'm telling you, you listen to people, they always find a way to just like, that's why I said anything you do, somebody will have a problem with. Like it's really nuts. Just living in a society where people will tell you, "Oh, you need to be accepting of others and non-judgmental," but they can judge you and talk about you and tell you what you can and can't do. Yeah, that's total fairness. I already know I'm probably gonna get demonetized again. I remember it was like 5 streams back to back. I just kept getting demonetized. Like, all right, whatever. It's weird because when they manually review most of them, they're like, all right, well, I didn't see anything offensive here. So they just customarily are like, well, you might have said something that doesn't mesh well with our system. So let's limit your pennies even further. You can get a half a from instead of getting half a coin, you get like a third of one, or a quarter of a quarter, a quarter of a penny. I remember one time I looked on there and I was like, what is 0.004 cents? Like what is that? But they really do that where they give you like a third of a penny or a percentile of it's weird. That's why YouTube is such a this site, man. Jem, don't say hi. We're not friendly here. We stopped being friendly a long time ago after we got demonetized and the algorithm destroyed everyone. Now they're sweeping up big 900K and 1 million sub channels. I still can't believe you would have 1 million subs and then only like have any video that gets 1.8 thousand views. They destroyed him for like a whole day where they were just like, all right, we're not playing you, recommending you. Nope, get out of here. And like I said, I'm sympathetic only because I feel like if you're gonna put up content for this site for so long and clearly be someone that people watch, otherwise you wouldn't have 1 million subs, they should promote you. But there've been discussions with like I forget her name, Wojcicki, but how you pronounce her last name, but just conversations about like how they don't want someone who just started or someone who's not an accredited person to talk about something. So if people are looking up information about certain topics, they get promoted or otherwise boosted channels that have mainstream credibility. Like you'll get a regular news channel before you get mine, even if it's a story about me, for example. As crazy as that sounds. Why do people put LOL behind their stupid comments as if it's supposed to be some epic argument crushed? I don't know. People, I stopped trying to figure out people on here a long time ago. I tell you that emojis and all the rest of that stuff really did kill a lot of these a lot of things people type out because I guess they're supposed to show like what your mood or emotion is, but I don't know. I'd rather just speak to people because if you talk to somebody voice to voice, you know what they're saying in the tone of it. You don't have to type out this or put that little circle at the end. I don't know, just whatever. I'll let people do what they want to. I have destroyed a Kotsky merchant. LOL. It's just like they really think they got you like you've been conquered. But anyways, I got a complaint by some. Don't worry, we shouldn't have this problem on Monday. On Monday, I'll probably go for a little bit longer because I don't have anything I need to do that day, so I'll probably just hang around here for a bit and then maybe pick something up to eat, and that'll be the full extent of my activities for today. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thanks, Akatsuki Merchant, Jem, um, Zeal when he was here earlier, and have a good day and a good rest of your weekend also.